Hey everyone, welcome back to lab. Today we'll be talking about solubility and solutions. First, for part 1, we'll be talking about unsaturated, saturated, and supersaturated solutions. For part A, the sodium acetate test, you will add 2 red plastic spoons of sodium acetate to the bottom of a large, clean, dry test tube. We've lined the test tube with a rolled up piece of paper to leave any crystals, to avoid leaving crystals on the test tube wall. After adding both spoonfuls, we can remove the paper. We will then add 20 milliliters of deionized water and slowly heat the test tube in a water bath. Here's our water bath that we've already been heating for a little bit. And you can see that he's swirling until the solid is completely dissolved. After all the solid has dissolved, you can set the test tube aside to cool, undisturbed. If any solid crystallizes, repeat the heating. While the test tube with sodium acetate is cooling, we will begin the potassium chloride part B of the procedure. For part B, put 5 milliliters of deionized water in a large test tube. Then, take some KCl, potassium chloride, and add a spoonful to a small beaker. Then you will add about 1/4 of a spoonful of the KCl to the test tube and mix for a couple of minutes.
There's a few crystals at the bottom.
Yeah, there's still a few crystals. Next, you'll add another small crystal of KCl to see if it will dissolve.
Still dissolving.
Okay. Next, you'll add the remaining KCl from the beaker and stir. Does not seem to be dissolving very well. So now we will heat the test tube in a boiling water bath for 5 minutes, stirring occasionally, and then see if we can get the solid to dissolve or not. Now that the test tube with the sodium acetate solution has cooled to room temperature, or 23 degrees Celsius, we will add 1 crystal of sodium acetate and see what happens. Oh, it's hard to see. Yeah, do that. Didn't dissolve, did it? Or did it?
Nope, it's there.
You may not be able to see very well, but the crystal did not dissolve. Then you can stir the contents to determine if they're completely solid.
Look at that.
After heating the KCl test tube for 5 minutes, we have observed that not all of the solid fully dissolved. Next, we will cool to room temperature and see what we observe. As the KCl solution is cooling, you can see solids starting to form from the solution. After cooling to room temp, you can see that there is a lot of solid. Now we are on part 2 of the Solutions and Solubility Lab. For this procedure, we'll start by adding about 3 milliliters of water to 3 milliliters of hexane. So add the hexane first. Then you will mix well and see what you observe. What do you observe? You can see 2 distinct layers. Nice. For the next part, you'll take a small amount of solid iodine and try to dissolve it in 3 milliliters of water. There you go. It did not dissolve completely. So, next you will take a small amount again of solid iodine and try to dissolve it in 3 milliliters of hexane. seems to have completely dissolved and also turned a very nice purple color. Next, we'll repeat these two tests, trying to dissolve the substance in water and hexane with 4 other substances. The first one will be table salt or sodium chloride. The next will be Epsom salt or magnesium sulfate. The third will be baking soda. And the fourth will be a Crisco oil. Remember to record the observations that we show you in the video as we are showing you the different compounds and how they dissolve. So, this is table salt. This first solution is table salt in hexane. And you can see it did not fully dissolve. This is table salt in water, also sodium chloride, and it dissolved very well. This is the Epsom salt in hexane. And you can see there's still solid left at the bottom of the tube. This is Epsom salt in water. It dissolved fairly well. This is baking soda in water. Pretty fully dissolved. And baking soda in hexane. You can see not dissolved well at all. And finally, the Crisco oil in water. You can see many oil droplets floating in the water, so was not soluble. And finally, the oil in hexane. Very dissolved. Those are just bubbles. Part 3 of this lab is all about dyes. Here on the hot plate we have a very warm solution of alizarin, and we also have a fabric strip made up of different fabrics. So using tongs, you'll hold the fabric strip in the beaker of hot alizarin for about 1 minute. Once a minute has passed, using a paper towel to catch the drips, carry the material to the sink. Then you can rinse the test strip under running water to wash off the excess dye and dry it on the paper towel. Once the fabric is dry, you can line it up with the identification key on your report sheet. You should be able to tell a rough idea of what each fabric portion is based on how well it became dyed. Here's a close-up of our fabric strip. You can see all the many colors, and hopefully you will be able to identify each fabric, like I said, based on the depth of the color from the dye.